What's up, Cinephiles? So I just finished binge watching this new suspense thriller series. It's called Into the Night. It's the first ever Belgian Netflix series and it's created by Jason George. It has over 6 episodes of 40 minutes each and I just finished everything in one sitting. I guess that's an indicative of how highly watchable this series is. I'm gonna do a non-spoiler review and then explain what really happened towards the end of season 1 and then maybe speculate what will happen in the possible season 2. So basically my spoiler thoughts, but I'm gonna drop warning along the way. So for now, you're safe. First, let's start off with the premise of this series. This one basically belongs to the post-apocalyptic sub-genre. So if you like movies like Bird Box, Cargo, TV shows like Walking Dead, Kingdom, you're gonna like this one as well. In this case, the sun, which is considered as the primary source of nourishment of mankind, has now turned into this ultimate threat. So whether you're inside the house or not, as long as you're in daylight, whether morning or afternoon, you're gonna drop down. And this series really gets into the heart of the action right away. There's this Italian ex-military. He hijacks this plane in the Brussels airport, which is supposed to be heading to Moscow. He tells everyone on the plane that they really have to go, and if they're still on that place by morning, they are all going to die. So everyone seems to be skeptical at first, but when they start to realize what happened through their smartphones, it's game on. They have to essentially beat the rotation of the Earth, which is crazy because I don't know how they're gonna do it. My geography is not that good, especially when it comes to Europe or the western part, so I'm not sure if the time zones are making sense, but for me, I just went along and enjoyed it. All the characters inside the plane, they're racially diverse, they have different religious beliefs, moral stances, different occupations. So I guess this is already nothing new when it comes to survival films where there's a group of strangers collectively trying to help each other using their various skill sets. And with that also, there's gonna be drama, there's gonna be power struggle, there's also gonna be lack of resources, fuel, the food. There are a lot of anxiety-inducing moments in this show. It really gets into you. The thought of being stuck on a plane for an indefinite number of hours or maybe even days, it's already terrifying for me. And you know, you're not even allowed to grief because the loved ones that you've left behind are now presumably dead and they just have to kick into their senses and act quick or else they're gonna die as well. They're not even allowed to get a hang of their jet lag. There's gonna be a lot of conflict and the show really thrives on throwing these worst case scenarios of what's going to happen. There's an element of suspense and tension and rhythm introduced in episode 1 and it successfully sustains it up to episode 6. That's why this series is very watchable. I'm not going to say it's well written because they're gonna touch on some scientific stuff here, which some of it I don't entirely buy, but just in the level of suspense and thriller, it will really get into you. Half of the time, the setting is shot inside the plane, but the directors have found a way to make everything look familiar yet not repetitive. Each episode is named after a character and at the beginning moments we get to have a glimpse of their lives before they boarded on that plane. It just adds insights of who they were, but eventually one character says here that you're not gonna be defined of who you were. So those main characters undergo through development, though not as significant as you can tackle on a drama level because the main priority of this show is to deliver the suspense and thrills. The closest lead protagonist here we have Sylvie. So she's a depressed woman who's having suicidal thoughts after the death of her husband. There's a really nice arc for her character here. She's this person on the verge of losing herself, but she eventually finds a purpose as she tries to help other persons. The acting among the cast is also good. My favorite character, which might be a controversial one, is Sadjo. This character is initially introduced as a hero because of his actions to save everyone on board, but his actions after that becomes more questionable. And besides, there's something in this actor in his eyes that makes you want to know more about him. I think he's the most interesting character here. These characters are gray characters because that's what people are in real life, especially when confronted with this crisis. There's no simply black and white, so I think the show nails that. It's a conflict of nature versus nurture where you're trying to keep your self-serving interests, but at the same time you want to help as much people as you can. So those facets of morality are explored here. I'm not going to say that Into the Night is a well-written show, primarily because the scientific concepts introduced here are not as fully baked as I wanted them to be, though I can't really judge for now because season 2 has, I feel like, a lot more in store. But what I can say is this show is well directed and well edited. Each episode ends on a cliffhanger, and with just 6 episodes, it doesn't really feel obligatory. It keeps you hooked. I definitely want a season 2, though I'm not sure on the route of this show is going to. I don't want them to stretch this premise. I want them to dig deeper to show us more on the sci-fi stuff here, because if they're going to go on the path of The Walking Dead and just accept the world as it is, I don't think I'm going to be as interested as I can. Shows like The Walking Dead have already explored too much on the moral complexities of having a post-apocalyptic world. So I want the show to stick to its sci-fi roots and offer more light and what's really happening behind this phenomenon. This series is highly watchable. I was rooting for the characters, even the unlikable ones, so I guess that's a good thing. For now, I'm gonna give this series a 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, now I'm heading to my spoiler review, and I'm gonna try to explain what happened in season 1, starting off with our working premise that the sun kills everything that it shines through. But later on, we learn that even those who are inside the bunkers also died. So this is not a question of sunlight, it's a matter of radiation, as confirmed by one of the climate researchers. But in the end, all the surviving characters found themselves inside the bunker. So what's so special in this bunker? If you don't remember, this bunker is located well deep into a water reservoir. So my guess is that water blocks radiation. So that's my first theory for the reason of their survival. And also, if you're gonna remember, there's a rat hidden inside the backpack which apparently survived. So if all living organisms die, how come that rat survived? If you remember, the climate researcher says that the gamma rays that's being emitted from the sun find a way to distort the molecular distribution of the atoms. So organic food like apples and oranges, they taste bland, fuel goes bad immediately, but those food inside the canned goods are still good. So my guess is that rat is probably stuck inside a can, and that's the reason why he survived. Cans are mostly made of aluminum, right? So that's my hunch. Water and aluminum can spare themselves from this doomsday. Also, I happen to know that the novel where this series is based on, it's a Polish novel, The Old Axotil, or something like that. The premise of that novel is that it's set on a cyberpunk dystopic world where the robots had now left the earth. The survivors of the catastrophe have now digitally uploaded their consciousness into the robots. So I'm not sure if that's the path where the series is heading into, but that suddenly seems to be more interesting for me. My hopes for this series is for them not to stretch that premise and really explore on other ways, because given that source material, I think they have something really more to work on. And I'm excited of what to come. This ends my spoiler and non-spoiler review. If you guys have seen this and you want to throw your wild guesses, your speculations for season 2, or some things that I've missed in season 1, I think you should comment them down below. If you like this video, please give this a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to our channel for more discussions about film and TV. Till then guys, see you on the next one. Bye!